Hey, this is Tracy with Color Me This. Welcome to the weekly color, where we review the pages that I colored and the sets that I colored them with from the Small Victories coloring book by Joanna Basford. This is officially the first coloring book I have ever colored in. So I have 3 last sets. Before I continue around cycling through my sets again, I had 3 on my list that I had never used in the coloring book. The first set is the last professional set that I have never used. It is called Derwent Lightfast. These are the pencils. They are officially the most expensive set of pencils that I own. And years ago, I bought a 10 of them, a 72, which at the time was the full set. And then not long after that, they came out with more, and I got a really good deal on the 100. I stumbled upon it from Mary Artist in Oregon. I was traveling at the time, so I was pretty thrilled that I could get those, and they traveled across the United States to wherever I was at the time, and I was just thrilled with them. I have not done a lot with them, though. I brought the swatches out today so I could talk a little bit about how they feel to me as a pencil, and I remember distinctly that they have sort of a sticky, catchy feel to them when you color with them. And this is my Bristol Vellum. This is the smooth side, so this is my Nina coloring page. It's not typically the media that I would color with these on. I would use more like the Bristol Smooth, like the Strathmore. So when I did my swatches, you'll notice that they say Nina Super Smooth because I swatched them on a very smooth cardstock, since at the time that was mostly what I would be coloring on, would be the Strathmore Bristol Smooth. And so I remember when I did my swatches that these kind of had a drag to them, so that's what I'm doing now. I've actually felt these and did some ticks, trying to think of how to describe these to you. So at $5 per pencil, or $4.99 on Blick, they are officially the most expensive pencil that I own, and I would say they're not the best feeling pencil for my style. There are probably people who absolutely love these. They are a good for fur type of a pencil. However, unlike the Polychromos, they do get a blunt tip, and you'd have to keep sharpening them, and the tips will break if you are using them with too much pressure when they are at a very sharp point. So I will show you what I mean by they kind of have a sticky catch to them as you fill in the tooth. I can kind of feel the drag. In a way, they're like a weighty, heavy pencil. They're not a waxy, they're not slick. When they go to a burnished finish, they have more of a matte sheen than they do a shiny slick, so that's good if that's what you like. So I'm just trying to think of the ways I would describe them, because they are a very specific pencil that cost a lot of money, and I would highly recommend that you just get a 12-pack. In fact, what I did is I have done some testing. I have the number 12 highlighted with an asterisk, and I did Lightfast testing on them with the 12 set, and did another video where I talk about their light fastness. And true, they are a very light fast pencil, just like the Luminance pencils are. Every pencil in this set is light fast for up to 100 years. Over 100 years. They should last over 100 years without fading or color changing in museum conditions. That's very specific, because if I just hang a colored page on my wall in Florida and the sun hits it, it's probably not going to last that long. So what I found with that catch that they have when you start to fill up the tooth, this is a very smooth cardstock. So In the colors, like, and then let's make sure we're focused. I'm actually getting the afternoon sun here too. In fact, what I might do so that I can see what you're seeing is I'm now going to lower the camera. You'll see that by the swatches that you were looking at, that the colors are very vibrant. It is not a natural nature palette like the Derwent Drawing 24 pencil set, which was what we went through in the weekly color last week, where I used a few of these Derwent drawings because I didn't have enough color choices. Derwent Lightfast pencils for the brighter colors that I wanted in, and we'll look at that last week's image in a minute. The Bordeaux is an example of a color that once it filled up the tooth, it started to do its sticky thing to me, and then the colors got mottled. It did that with me. Oh, hey, look at, there's sunlight. I might have to get up and go get rid of the sunlight. Mars Violet did the same thing. And notice it's a gray, so it's a very pigmented. Both Bordeaux and the Mars Violet have pigment, and it's probably a more granular pigment than some of the other colors. I had an issue with Nightshade, and I made these swatches at least 5 years ago. So, but I can just, as I was using these, and these colors did their strange behavior, I was like, wow, these are really expensive pencils to be doing this. So I am sure that people work through their issues if they have these, and perhaps I use a kind of paper that, since it's so smooth, it's not the best surface for these pencils. They also did Dark Indigo, did its little sticky thing, and there's even, I even see some tooth where it like skipped through, and this is such a smooth paper, there should be no tooth. So these pencils are probably not for everyone, and I would again start with a 12-pack set. I, at the time back then, was collecting every single pencil that you could buy of the professional lines. The Luminance I also owned a subset of, and then when they came out with the rest of them, their portrait set, and then a couple of individuals, I bought those too. So the completionist in me told me I had to have them all, which probably is a blessing, because today I would never pay this much money for these pencils. So I am on a limited budget these days, and so I'm grateful that I have them, but they would be pencils that if I had to skip having spent money on a set, it would be these. So I'm going to use them nonetheless because I have them. So let's get out the first page. I did two pages this week using 3 different sets. The picture here on the left is the one that was the Derwent Drawing, was the main focus of this page, and then I did supplement the greens, the bright greens, that is, the reds for the apple, and the aqua, and those were the elements that I pulled out the Lightfast colors to complement and go with the Derwent Drawing. And I did have a very positive experience coloring with both the drawing and the Lightfast. So the experience from swatching all those colors years before, I didn't encounter any of those behaviors, though I still could feel the drag, because the way the pigment goes down still is not like a smooth, buttery application. And for me, I like a smooth, buttery feel coming from the marker world with Copic markers, where when you color with the alcohol markers, there's just a really soft, buttery feel, which I really like. So I started out with this bunny, and I wanted to explore coloring like I would do an animal portrait, and that is using a subtraction technique. And I also like to share different techniques with you guys. So I colored the bunny body with a white after I used Museum Aquarelle wet to gray out you see that there's faint lines, the shape of leaves on the chest. So I took away as much of that as I could, and then that was one of the experiments, and the Lightfast went over the top of the Museum Aquarelle once it was dry with no problem. So I did white through the whole body. I, at the time, did not color the lines. The lines, the exterior lines are not colored with the white at all. I left those there. So then I started doing the flicks, which over here, when I color, and I showed, if you go back to the actual daily color, I show the flicking motion, and that's what this is lots and lots of flicking motions in the direction that the hair goes on the animal, you know, up over the eyes and round the sides under the eyes and then down along the ruff of the neck and through the chest. So as I was doing those layers, I would then come in with my ceramic knife, the slice tool, and I was able to flick away bits of the hair. So you can see this creamy color, because I started with a softer tan over the white, and then over that I put a darker color. And this darker color better illustrates using the subtraction method of then flicking away, and you're flicking away a layer, just a layer of the dark color, revealing the lighter color underneath. And these pencils did great at that specific technique. They are fabulous, and you can layer. This bunny probably has 20 layers of, on the back of the bunny I left it, this is the medium color, and then I did my flicking and I did some subtraction so you can see the even lighter color underneath him. And then I darkened the face, and this is the dark color that I used. I then did cover the black lines, and I think that these pencils did a fantastic job of being able to flick just across the black, and it goes on pigmented enough that you can't even really see the lines. And you can just keep adding flick after flick after flick. Right here is a little bit of blue transferred over from the other page, so I apologize for that. That is me not really being a very tidy coloring person. I have definitely got an issue with messiness. There's a little bit of red here, and there's this line of blue going up through the ear. But I thought that for the test I did with these pencils, that are already, as I say, they are not my favorite pencils, even though they are the most expensive. They are not ones that would be a go-to that I would use. So I used them in a manner that I know that they are for, and I thought they did a great job. I also thought that the green, which I had already used the bright greens on the left page, and they did fantastic on his back. They don't smooth out as well, like they don't smooth out and mush together like a Prisma would. Even a Polychromos, I think, would end up being a smoother blended application, because I can see some lines in here. And going back to my swatches, I see some lines in certain colors, especially in these blues. And so that is like maybe it's a feature of these pencils that everyone needs to be aware of. They do not behave like a Prismacolor wax type pencil with a very smooshy feel to them, because that's not how they feel. So then I moved on after the bunny. I thought it was a very successful, oh, and then the other interesting thing is I was able to very easily add Jelly Roll White. I have a very hard time on certain pencil sets, having now used in this book 21 different sets of pencils. There are certain pencils that tend to be either waxy or they have a lot of filler in them, and when they get to that smooth burnished finish, if it's really glossy, I have a hard time getting these Jelly Roll Whites, especially the thinner ones. The 10 is okay. 8s and 5 are very difficult with that smaller diameter nib to get them to be able to dot and have these nice little dots show is very difficult. So then I did Autumn Leaves. I was very happy with the Autumn Leaves. I do see I did this green actually was very bright, and it was then I knocked it back with like a yellow and then an olive, and I thought that the intermixing to make my own colors went very well. They're not a really smooth, they kind of have a little bit of a mottled textury finish to them, which I think might be what a lot of people want. So I thought the blue came out very, very pretty. The blueberries I love. Kind of like how the apple reds, I used 3 reds to create these apples, and I used 2 blues to create the berries, and I thought they came out great. So they never became unpleasant for me to work with at all. I never hit a limit and felt, oh, these pencils can't do anymore. However, if I wanted a very, very smooth, completely seamless transition from color to color, I don't think these pencils are going to be satisfactory for that particular function. So that was a really fun, enlightening couple of days. Then I moved on to 2 sets that I bought recently. I own 98 Black Widows consisting of 5 different tins. The way the pencils work is you buy them in small sets to make up a whole. The entire collection is 180 pencils, of which I have 96, and I only swatched them. I bought a case for them because I am totally out of cases. Here is what they look like. They are like a mishmash of somebody changed their mind from set to set of what they wanted them to look like. And I know that the last 2 sets I have to get, which would complete the whole set, is going to be yet different dipped ends. They are dipped ends, but they don't have the same look as this. The fonts are different colors, roughly the same font, different sizes. So because the only thing I have to refer to with the 3 sets that come in the white tins, the Cobra, Scorpion, and Black Widow, I have to refer to the tips. I want to point out that when you look at these tips, and that's all you have is the tip to compare, it's very difficult to tell what the color is. So I have created and have up for everyone to download a case insert that has the code in bold, easy to read letters. And then I also have the swatch, my swatch sheet style swatches, which is this style. I have a sheet that you can print and then cut the strips. There's 18 numbers, all in the order of the entire 180 set, so that if you're like me and you're going to collect them all, even if you're going to do it slowly, you have your case insert so that you'll have your holes, because you'll see that's what mine looks like. I have the holes where I don't have those in the collection yet, but I eventually will. So hopefully you will find that helpful. I found it extremely frustrating and knew right off the bat that I was going to have to be very organized with the Black Widows or I would go crazy. So using the pencils themselves, they are a very vibrant wax-based pencil. They go down very nicely. They blend together beautifully. And I had no problem using the same jelly roll that I used here on the Lightfast pencils. Went down great on these. Because I had done the bunny, I was curious about the flicking hair technique that I use on animals to do the fox. At that point, I had received a product that was sitting around on my desk somewhere. The Winsor Newton white ink. Here it is. So this will be in my my haul for last month. So Winsor & Newton white ink. So I used that white ink to cover everything except the leaves. So the leaves are vibrant black, and the outlines and the and the eye is black. And I was able to color over the top of that ink with the Black Widows and make what I think is a very nice looking animal portrait. And it was very pleasant. I enjoyed using them. Now they also did a little bit, now remember I used flicking, so I was not using circular motions like over here on the mushroom, where I did use the circular motion to get that smooth transition, and same with the echinacea flower in that shades from dark to light purple. They were very fun pencils. They had a matte finish. They feel like a heavy pencil to me, like a not quite chunky, but they do have a heavier feel to them, and they sharpen to a point, but the tips do break. So I started out with sharp points, and if I put at all too much pressure, just the very little tip would break off. So very nice pencils, worked fabulous. Love the colors, love how they all intermix. Having only 96, so you know, a little over half, I was very pleased with how they worked and what my color choices were. You definitely can get away with having less than a full set and have plenty of color choices. So that is the end of page 1. And the Lightfast pencils and the Black Widows. So let's go to the last page. And I'm going to have to move up again so you can see this full page. And I am sorry for making you seasick. So, sweets. I am not a food person. I did not have any clue how to color these. I like to try not to research how these pages are done because there's lots of YouTube color alongs that you can participate in, and I try not to do that. So these are colors of my own choosing, and the pencils that I used for the second page are the Irojitens. So I am used to a very hard pencil, using polychromos for years, and the Derwent Artist pencils are also a very, very firm. They hold a point. They're good for animal fur and details, fine details. So I ended up buying, I had 30 because I got a really good deal. I always look on eBay for auctions and such. And so I won these, and then ended up on Mercari, which is I've only bought one other thing on Mercari. So I ended up making an offer, which I really love Mercari because it feels familiar to me since I am a long-time eBay seller and buyer. So I ended up with 70 of these, and that was just enough for doing a page. So I am really glad that it was a detailed page because it allowed me to test these very hard pencils. I've already done a first look video. I will put it at the end. I'll do a card for it so that you can go see what my first look was like. And I did like a 5-color blend, and I compared them to Prang and Starjoy Gold, which are the 2 other hardest pencils that I own. And these are officially the hardest pencil that I own. They are a slick white painted surface that feels really good in the hand. They sharpen very well, where I guess I didn't point out that the Black Widows, when they sharpen, you can feel that the wood is like a denser wood because they have a different pitch to it, like a lower pitch, like it's working harder. These feel like a normal, nice, light. The sound is not like the sharpener. This is my Jarling that I recently fixed. And so these sharpened beautifully. Not a single tip broke off, of course. I would not have expected that to be the case. The font is silver. It is a block letter. Not a heavy stroke, but easy to read because it's the opposite of trying to read the red on black curly Q fancy letters that you have with the Black Widow. So I was very pleased with how easy it was to read the Irojitens. I did find that the color dipped ends aren't a perfect match, but I had my swatch sheet here to refer to. I do not have a case right now for them, and so I actually had to take my Crayola 50 set out of this roll, and currently I have the Irojitens, 70 of them. You know, a lot of them are still out because I just finished coloring the rest of that Sweets page. So my nice rainbow 70 colors is plenty. I got set A, set B, plus the 10 individuals. and it was plenty to work with. I did not feel that I was missing any significant colors to speak of. This is what, oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Again, this is the swatch of what I made, and it's all I've used so far. And of all the crazy things today, right before I was filming this, Hub had finished up a bike ride, came in the house with a bag, and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "It's from Temu." And I got a great deal on some cases, so I will be putting those in my, it'll be the haul for May, even though today is June 1st. I'll just put them all in, because I do not plan on doing any extensive shopping for the month of June. All right, so let's take a look at this page. I will zoom down. The first thing that comes across to me when I see this, and part of it is because it was my experience, there are no extra marks. There are no smudges over the lines. It is a very crisp, clean looking page. So the best way I can describe these pencils is that if you like a very clean, tidy pencil to work with, that you can actually read, that you can buy in singles, these are a very good pencil to consider. Because of all, I have 21 sets of economy pencils, and I would not call these budget pencils. They're more of a low to mid priced, but you can buy them on the secondary market for a very good price. And I was very pleased with how they behaved. And I'm a slow colorist. I don't expect to get an immediate payout of pigment, and I think they look very pigmented. And it did not take a lot of work. I did not have to use heavy pressure to get the pigment. Yes, it did take a few layers to get the color payout that I want. I'm going to now zoom in so I can show you some specific colors and behaviors. Okay, so now we're going to look more at like the individual rows. And since we have so much light showing, I'm going to pause and go close my curtains. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Now it should be easier to see. So the coloring went really fast. You can see where I did my shadows on the sides, and they just layer really dreamy. You can see here where I have a little hint of blue at the top. All of my glass elements, I did add a very, what I call a glaze of the blue where appropriate, to see if wherever there was some extra tooth, I could get a very soft hint of the color. And so this really came out just exactly like I wanted it to. And then I did use both the jelly roll, a very small jelly roll, and these thick lines are my white acrylic marker, and they did a really nice job. So the only thing I have today that I'm curious about is I have in my hand my Caran d'Ache Bright. This is my favorite. It's the full blender Bright, and I am curious how well these take to a blender, which is basically the filler without any color. So I'm going to look for a space. I wanted to, on this pink and dark chocolate cake, you can see where I used one color and I just lightened the amount of pigment that I used, and I want to just smoosh that color in and try to eliminate the tooth so that there aren't little white speckles. It just looks like it's a dark chocolate to a light brown as a smooth transition. So I thought I would save this step to do with you guys. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm not making the page blur. And I think that that looks fantastic. What do you guys think? So I know that there are people who find that these, they claim that for their experience, here's another area where I would love to get that light brown, which is just less pigment on the page of the same dark chocolate color. And that is going down really nice. Here you can see, again, I did the blue, I did a little bit of blue. I can actually see where the blue did fill in where the gaps are, where the fruit isn't all the way to the edge of the glass. And I did some dark gray shadowing down on the bottom here, and some shadows where we have some front to back. That all looks good. And then here again is where I have this bowl and I added the blue, and then here's where I add some blue along the top, and that came out very nice. Yeah, these are the pencils that surprised me the most, because a lot of people find, they claim that there's not enough colors and the colors don't go dark enough, and so I was all ready for disappointment. And I just think that they work as a great hard pencil. I love how clean they are. I feel like the payout on the vibrancy is just as vibrant as any of the pencils. These are not necessarily Lightfast tested. They are sold by art stores like Blick and so forth. The Speer Farben is the other budget pencil that comes to mind for me that you can buy in singles. The owner or the creator of those pencils has an Etsy store, and I bought singles from her, and I think they were, the more you buy, the cheaper they are as a lot. Sorry about the blur again. And so I think I paid $2.67 a piece, and I bought 6 or 7 pencils, and the Irojitens are $2.67 a piece. No, $2.63, something like that. They're really very close to the same price a piece. And if you are a person who says, you know, you don't want a Prismacolor, you do want to be able to buy singles and not an entire set, then this is one of the kind of mid-price range sets for you to consider if the Prismacolor style pencil is not for you. Here's the donuts. They were reminiscent to me of my favorite budget pencils, the Brute Funers. They actually are quite similar, only way harder. And when I say the Brute Funers, I actually mean the squares. The squares seem to have a little more payout than the, I have the 520 set as well, and though I do love the 520 set, they are not quite as vibrant as the squares for whatever reason. And then here is the last row. Let's move my ink out of the way. And there is the last row. And see, I did some shadowing on this side. Some of the things I had to just be like totally creative as far as color goes, because I don't know what half of the stuff is supposed to be. So it is just my interpretation. And then here is that. The dark color you see for the dark chocolate is a color called sepia. I also used sepia for shadows. And the other shadow color I used is a dark gray called taupe. I did not use, oh, sorry, you're blurred again. I didn't use any black on this page at all. In fact, most of the time I never use black. I like to use dark gray or a dark, like the sepia is a brown tone. So I prefer using a color for not only the darks, but I prefer using a very light color instead of white to do any burnishing that I want to do if I don't want to burnish with the color itself. So my test of using this full bright blender is that these blend beautifully with a blender. So I will eventually be getting to all of my sets that I have to do the detailed walkthroughs. But in the meantime, now that I will be actually doing coloring pages in this book, it will help me to further get prepared for doing the detailed walkthrough because I will have the projects finished. All right, I think that that concludes the weekly color. Let me know your thoughts. I've had some really good feedback from people. I really like you coming in and doing a comment and sharing with me what you have found works well for like doing the whites, because that's something I don't do a lot of, as well as any sets of pencils that I am experiencing for the first time. I noticed right here was a few crumbs that were probably crumbs from using this full blender. And that is something I have found to be true when you do blend out with the pencil that has the filler and it doesn't have any color. It sometimes will cause crumbs to form because these pencils, that's the other thing, they do not cause crumbs. There are no crumbs to speak of. So anyhow, in a nutshell, I would love to hear from you guys. Whatever you have to say, I would love to hear it. So do all the YouTube things, like, share, comment, and consider subscribing. I have my haul video to do next. And I have just a few items. Being on a limited budget, I don't get a ton of things. And I do purchase things very selectively. So I will be coming next with that. If not, if I don't get to it before the daily color tomorrow, I will be back with a daily color. I have not even decided what the next set of pencils is that I will use, because I now have officially completed using every single set of pencils that I own, which would be 21 set of budget pencils. Oh, and when I say pencils, it's not including the water-soluble ones, which I haven't even figured out how I want to integrate them into this whole cycling through my pencils. So I own 7 professional pencil sets and 21 budget pencil sets. Not necessarily every pencil in the sets, but enough to be able to color in this book. So this page will be colored with something from the next round of pencils. So come back tomorrow and join me. I'll see you then.